Tata Communications is the company that I'm from, and Rajeev is from Tata Communications Transformation Services. So it's part of an umbrella brand, but we are actually two separate companies. And in this particular instance, I am Tata Communications as the customer of TCTS, if that makes sense. So Rajeev, I'll let you introduce yourself. I'm Bannister from Tata Communications. Rajeev?
And I'm Rajeev. I take care of corporate strategy for TCTS, but I also lead the vertical of IoT for TCTS globally.
Okay, so I'll start on this bit and then we'll work into Rajeev. So Tata Communications is part of a group, of industrial group called Tata Group. And Matt, you said that people don't make stuff in the UK anymore. I know you generalize, but we do have a large factory in Solihull where we make Jaguar cars and Land Rovers, and we also used to have quite an extensive steel business in the UK, and we have a huge business still in India in steel, manufacturing, the automotive industry. So we're a very large industrial group, if you've not heard of Tata. We also make, we also provide Tetley tea, and we also provide hotel with the Taj Hotel Group. So we're a very large, very broad industrial company. I'm going to talk about what we're doing in India with actually a LoRa network. We actually have two IoT businesses. One is a GSM-based business, and the business I'm going to talk about is what we're doing in India with LoRa. Now, LoRa, for us, we talk about it as the largest IoT network in the world. The reason I say that is because we started about 18 months ago deploying across the Indian subcontinent. We have all of the larger, what we call the tier 1 cities in India covered. We have about 150 million population coverage at the moment. By next year, we will have something like 300 to 400 million population coverage. So we will have all of the tier 1, 2, and 3 cities in India covered, as well as the main industrial corridors within India. And in India, to put it in the context of Europe, a tier 3 city is a city around about 500,000 and upwards, okay? So that's about 400 different cities and municipalities and industrial areas which are covered. Again, it's been very interesting to listen to the discussions this morning, people talking about the need to focus. So our solution in LoRa is a combination of the network itself, the base stations, which we've deployed and are continuing to deploy, but we also deploy the service capabilities. We bring the hardware, the analytics, and the connectivity all together. However, rather than trying to do everything, which is clearly a mistake, we focus on 5 or 6 different vertical segments, and those segments are defined by the little blue dots there. Most of what we're trying to do is around smart city and smart home enablement, but we also do some stuff in what we call employee safety and personal safety. So that is, we have wristbands, and people working in mining environments, for example, heavy industrial environments have these wristbands. We can track people. So if a mine is affected by flooding or is affected by a carbon monoxide problem, we can actually ensure that all of the mine workers are actually evacuated from that space using the IoT wristband that they're wearing. We're also in the process of launching a personal safety device for women. So women will be able to actually include the device in an item of jewelry or in a wristband or in a necklace, and it will track where the people are. It will also provide an alarm capability, and also it will alert the nearest police station. So if somebody does get attacked, then there's a chance we can track where they are, and then they can alert and set off an alarm to actually hopefully protect themselves from being attacked. So that's an example of what we're doing on the consumer side. And then on the industrial side, we do a lot of work with smart city solutions, so smart street lighting, smart parking. One of the cities that we work with is a city called Jamshedpur in India. For those of you who do not know Jamshedpur, it's a steel city, and I'll click onto the next slide. So Jamshedpur is a steel city. It was actually established by our founder, Jamshetty Tata, the late 19th century. He brought experts across to India from the steel city of Pittsburgh in the US to actually set up the city, set up the steel works, but we also actually set out the city itself and the workers' housing. He was very specific about the need to have lots of green space, parks, education, etc. Jamshedpur now, today, is the only city in India, where you can drink the water out of the tap. And that's as a result of the water monitoring, which the city, which is actually controlled by Tata Steel, by the way, via their Just Co subsidiary. So they actually control the quality of the water using IoT. They control traffic congestion, traffic lights, smart parking to reduce congestion in the city. And actually Tata Steel run a significant part of the city as the municipal authority itself, okay? So that is, you can see some pictures of what a steel mill looks like at night. Alternatively, you can go to Port Talbot and look at the steel city there. We work with TCTS, Tata Communications Transformation Services, in two ways. One is TCTS provide us with service support, consultancy, implementation support, system integration support. And the other angle is that TCTS are internationalizing what we're doing in India. So they're actually taking the learning and the knowledge from the solutions that we've developed, and they are taking that outside of India into other markets. So telcos that have set up their own LoRa networks, the TCTS team work with those telcos to actually help them to implement some of the solutions we talked about just before, and also provide consulting and support to implement those solutions. So I'm going to hand over now to Rajeev, my colleague, and I'll let Rajeev talk about what TCTS specifically do, and I'll shut up. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben, for two things actually, for being a customer as well as being, coming here and standing with me, because we are standing before the lunch session. So yeah, so just to pick on what Ben was saying. So TCTS is being a subsidiary of Tata Communications, it's a company in its own right. We have our own board, a completely different sales channel, as well as a product service, everything is different. So it's a company which is helping Tata Communications, and for us, Tata Communications is an esteemed customer. In terms of all these solutions that Ben spoke about, yes, we are developing these on LoRa for Tata Communications, and therefore, while in the morning we discussed a lot of aspects about monetization, about acceleration, how do you get to the market, how do you cater to so many different categories, that's exactly where we step in and kind of help other operators bring these to life. So this is a measure of the network that we are kind of managing for Tata Communications today. So as we speak, I think we are roughly about 10,000 gateways. It shows 9,000, but we are roughly about 10,000 right now. And the intention is to ramp it up to 16,000 gateways over a period of next 2 years. This would also mean that we cover all the 100 smart cities. That's a vision of the government, but also kind of replicating a lot of these use cases across cities such that they become more efficient. So to speak of some of the use cases that are already live on the network, there is definitely telematics, healthcare, enterprise IoT solutions which range from energy management till about door sensing, etc., security. Workforce tracking is a big area for us because being a large piece of land, there are a lot of workers who are distributed for a lot of these companies, and we kind of help them manage all of that. Asset management, for a lot of utility companies today, we are doing both asset as well as inventory management, because as a part of the regulatory aspect, utility companies are supposed to report what kind of assets they have, and that's a part of their audit. So we have kind of automated all of that as well. we spoke of our Indian experience, but this is just a picture of what we do globally. And the essence of this slide is not to take you through all the examples, but just to tell you that we are agnostic of technology when it comes to capabilities. Yes, we do tend to replicate a lot of examples such that the market or the speed to market is accelerated. But at the same time, we are agnostic to technologies, and we work closely with a lot of telcos as well as large companies to kind of also develop solutions that are customized to them. So speaking of examples, you think of Australia, the challenges were quite different. So when we started working with one of the largest asset kind of management companies there, the challenge for a highway was not just managing the highway in terms of safety, in terms of energy management, etc. It was about managing the crash barriers, and the challenge for them was the disaster response system was triggered not by the cars that hit the crash barriers, but by kangaroos. So we kind of developed solutions whereby people could understand whether it was actually a car or something else, and thereby kind of made it a little more efficient. So that's just a kind of an explanatory slide of what we do across the globe, across telcos as well as some of the large enterprises. Now coming to the market perspective, I think I'm sorry about the representation of the slide, it looks really bad, but just to give you an example of what we were also discussing in the morning, the opportunity for IoT is well laid out in terms of the size of the market. But having said that, it's so differently fragmented that it becomes difficult for all CSPs to kind of cater to that. So this slide kind of tells you that while broadly there are about 9 or 10 categories through which this opportunity can be tapped, but against each of these categories you will have at least 20 to 50 kind of use cases running. So it's important to choose the battles. We have emphasized this enough since morning. So the essence of this slide is to tell you that yes, even in the, I think someone showed the consumer scenario, even in the enterprise scenario, the hardware, etc., all parts except the network connectivity or the access management part actually captures most part of the value, which is essentially what CSPs should be targeting and not just the connectivity piece. So this is more of our take of having worked with so many telcos across the region, across regions, across the globe. What's our take of the key challenges that we see when operators go about monetizing this opportunity? I think the biggest problem that we have kind of heard from most of our customers is the fact that it's a fragmented industry, both in terms of opportunities as well as the ecosystem through which this can be catered, which basically means that how do I cater to so many use cases across so many industries, and even within an industry it is very difficult to replicate within enterprises as well. So that's one of the biggest problems that we kind of have heard from our customers. That apart, the entire technology conundrum. So there are so many technologies that people keep thinking about it rather than trying to get into it and implementing it. Wide array of use cases, that's almost tagged to what I described about the nature of industry. And last but not the least, it's the solution-driven approach that we typically find a little lacking in terms of how operators are kind of gearing up. So in most of the cases, what we believe is it's mostly the connectivity revenues that bears top of the mind for the operators, whereas what that basically implies is they miss out on the rest of the value chain opportunity. And that's how we come to the last page. This is more of the sales pitch that I wanted to make. But this is exactly where we step in, because as Ben was pointing out, the idea is to be able to create more replicable business cases and use cases across industries and across technologies as well, and kind of helping other telcos monetize the opportunity that lays at hand. So that's where we step in, kind of providing right from consulting services to use cases to everything. So that's what we want to do. Replicable business models, accelerate what you take to market, and monetize the opportunity that lays at hand.